3 or 4 years old, I would
Where were
guess.
you living? Muncie, Indiana?
No, I was living in Elburn, Illinois.
But you were born in Muncie.
No.
Oh,
I was born in Kane County, Illinois.
Kane County. Okay.
It was out on a farm.
Okay.
It
So
was
you
a
were.
home birth.
So I didn't know that.
Elburn.
I didn't know that. I thought you was Muncie.
No, that was much later.
So Elburn,
Elburn,
and that's where you first remember
correct.
things.
I was probably 3 or 4 years old. Lived at the end of the street. I don't remember the name of it. It's a little town.
Were you in town or were you out in the country?
In town.
And you
I was
had
born on a farm.
4 older brothers at that time? How many older brothers were there?
3.
3 older, and then there were 2 younger.
2 younger, right.
Okay, so did you have your own room?
In that house, I don't remember. I only have one, 2 or 3 memories of that
Right.
house. And I was little.
No. Well, then
I
where did you?
remember a birthday party at that house, so it had to be about my 4th birthday. And I know that it's the only birthday party I had.
Yeah.
I got a baby buggy. And it was in a room. It was a small house. It was in a room. It was kind of a den where there was a player piano.
In your house?
Uh-huh. We had a player piano. And I was not supposed to go into that room. So I went into that room. So I knew
Naturally.
I knew I was getting a baby buggy. And that,
Oh.
yeah. And so when it came time for the birthday party to open presents, out came the baby buggy. My mother said, "Did you go in that room?" I said, "No, I didn't go in that room." Which of course I did.
So it's the first lie you remember telling.
Well, it's the first remembrance I have. I remember out in the backyard was a small cement pond with a waterfall. We didn't have water in it when we lived there. But I do remember, and there's a picture somewhere of, I'm not sure if I'm in it, maybe Bud's in it, holding a big bunny. And that was in the first house
Wow.
I recall in Elburn.
Elburn. Then, after that, did you stay in Elburn?
We did. We moved to a house about a block away. And that's where I have memories. I know I was there.
Like in grade school?
I was probably, I don't know when we moved there. I was still little, but I remember being there. So it was probably grade school.
And were you there? I know you moved a lot, but did you stay there in grade school? Where did you live? Was it Elburn, or did you?
Correct. It was Elburn. That's where I
So
lived.
in that one house, after the first house, you then moved into another
A
house.
second house, right.
Mhm.
And I had my own room.
Is that the one you told stories of your brothers with the ladder coming in? That's a different one.
That's
Okay, so you had your own room
had my own room.
and 5 brothers.
Correct. It was at the front of the house. It had 3 windows and a love seat underneath it.
Yeah.
It was a pretty good sized room.
Oh,
But since I was the only girl, that was my room.
wow.
The boys had a couple rooms that they were in. My folks had a room. I think that's all the bedrooms. There were 4 bedrooms. It was a pretty big house.
Wood house? Stone house?
Wood house, a big front porch. It had a barn next to it, but it was in town. There's a barn with a hayloft,
How big was Elburn? 1,000 people?
maybe 600 tops,
So little.
somewhere between 400 and 600.
A couple hours outside Chicago?
Yeah. But back then,
Is that where we had the family reunion?
no,
No,
that was in Maple Park.
Maple Park, okay.
Yeah.
What do you recall, say in grade school, getting up? Did you have an alarm clock? Did your mother, Honey, come, or Edna come wake you up? How What do you remember about your daily routine, if anything? You had your own bed. You had your own room.
Right. I didn't have an alarm clock, I know that. I'm sure she woke me up.
There was electricity in the house, though?
There was electricity in the house. I don't know, I walked to school.
Well, so you'd wake up, did you have your own bathroom, or did you have to share it with all your brothers?
We shared a bathroom with the entire family. There was one bathroom.
One bathroom for 8 people.
Correct.
Wow.
I know. Back then, we didn't know any different. So it's like, well, okay.
What do you recall about, just again, daily routine breakfast? Did you all eat breakfast together? Did you do it
I don't
as you got up?
I don't remember that. I'm guessing there was a set thing there, and we probably just ate as we came down, because this was upstairs.
Did you eat cereal? Malto meal? Oatmeal?
No, I don't remember anything like that.
Did Honey cook?
She cooked, but I don't remember her cooking breakfast. I think it was mostly, it seems like it was toast, milk, probably fruit.
Did you then, when you go off to school, did you walk? What was your school name?
I walked.
What was its name?
I think it was just Elburn Grade School. I walked to school.
Did you have brothers walk with you?
No, I think I walked with a girl who lived about a block from me. And we walked there.
How long were you? A block from school? A mile from school?
No, as a kid it seemed like a mile. Probably, I don't know, 5 or 6 blocks.
Yeah, okay. Like here from our house to Crescent Park, which is 4/10.
Probably.
Okay.
Maybe a little more than that.
So you'd go to school. Was it public school? Elburn school?
It was a public school. Very small public school.
Did you have one teacher per grade, or did you share grades?
One teacher per grade. Sometimes we shared, there might have been 2 different classes in the room.
How big was your class? 10, 20, 30 students?
Maybe 15. Probably 15 tops.
No. Did they have buses where kids from the country came in then?
Nope, we didn't. I don't ever remember a bus.
Were there kids from the country, or were they all from the little town?
I think most of them were from Elburn itself, but I do remember there were, I guess they were sharecroppers, and so their kids would come to school.
Oh, wow.
But I don't know how they got there. I mean, they worked right outside of town, but it would have been too far to walk, so maybe they rode a bike. I don't have any remembrance of that.
What about lunch? Nowadays you have school lunches, and the school cooks them, and you can go to snack bars. Do you remember? How did you get fed at lunchtime in grade school?
I'm sure I carried a sack lunch. I have no recollection of it, but I had to, because.
Well, where did you eat lunch? Was there a cafeteria?
I don't remember that.
Really? You don't remember lunch break at school?
I don't. I remember recess.
Did you come home maybe for lunch?
No, I don't think so. Oh, well, it's possible that we did. I don't remember it.
And then
Last part of my
But do you recall, was it just from 8 or 9 in the morning until 3 in the afternoon,
Yeah.
a typical school day?
Yeah, it was.
Okay.
With a couple recesses.
Yeah. Did you do anything after? Well, I guess it was grade school, but you didn't have a paper route or anything, so
No,
you
I didn't. Just went home from school.
Did you have a TV in the house?
Oh, heavens, no.
Did you have a radio?
We did have a radio. I mean,
Any idea what you'd do for those 2 or 3 hours before dinner?
probably played with my friend from down the street. I don't know, if it was winter, we sledded. If it was summer, we played outside, played in the barn.
Did you have animals?
We did. We had 2 dogs.
Oh, but no horses, goats,
No.
chickens?
Rex and May were the dogs. They were Cocker Spaniels.
Oh. So would the boys be home too, your brothers?
Mm-hmm.
So it'd be a house full.
It was a house full.
And honey, Edna, your mom, she would stay at home. She didn't work outside the house.
She did not.
So when you got home, she was there.
Right.
Do you remember her cooking dinner, or did it take a long? What do you
Yeah,
remember
I do-
about
I do
dinner
remember.
preparation and you all coming home from school?
Well, I remember I helped with dinner preparation. I couldn't tell you now what, but probably maybe peeling potatoes or whatever. But I was around in the kitchen when she was preparing food.
Did she go to the market? Was there a market? Did you have a garden?
Yep. There was one grocery store in town. The people's name that owned it was Morris, and they lived right next door to us. And we used to go, that's where we shopped. It was a very small grocery store compared to what it is now.
Yep.
And so we did go to the store and buy food, grew a lot of the food. We had a victory garden,
Mm-hmm.
and we had quite a large yard, so it was a pretty big victory garden.
What?
And we worked in that.
Yeah. Did you can? Did you have a
Oh,
cellar? Did you participate in that, or did the boys?
Actually, yes, because in the summer, every morning, all of us were loaded into Uncle Elmer's car, which had a rumble seat. and two kids sat on either front fender, some in rumble seat, and the rest inside that little car. And we would go to the farm, which was where my mother was born.
And still owned by the family, or?
Oh yeah, still
Okay.
owned by the family. Her brothers all worked the farm.
Oh, okay.
Most of them were not married. Well,
So-
none of them were married.
So in the summer, you'd get in the car and go to the farm.
We would go to the farm because her mother was still living,
What was her mother's name?
and
Anna. So your grandma was Anna. Okay.
and from my first recollection of her, she had had a stroke. So she sat in a rocking chair and rocked. She was not a happy person. She was really not happy.
And her husband was dead. Your grandpa
Yeah,
was dead.
I didn't ever know him. He died when I was just, I think, a
Little.
baby. Yeah. And so took care of her all day, and I know I was involved with watching her at times. And they had all kinds of fruit trees, gardens.
And that would be your grandma and then Honey's brothers. Like I knew Uncle Clarence and
They
other
all
brothers.
lived there. They
all
all
lived
lived there.
there, okay.
Yes. And so we canned all of that food from their gardens on the farm.
Oh, wow.
They did not have running water in the house. You had to go to the pump house, bring water in.
Mm.
It was involved.
Wow.
I know I helped like take the stems off of green beans. I remember pitting cherries forever.
And then all that canned food, was that for them to eat and you to eat, or was there a
Both.
market that you sold it at?
No, we didn't sell it. That was for them to eat, and they had a cellar
Right.
that they kept it in. And I'm sure we took some of it home with us for the winter, but the cellar was just a dirt floor, shelves, and all this stuff.
So when you say when Honey would make food, so she'd also use some of that canned stuff from
Yeah.
the family farm.
Oh yeah.
Wow.
And the cellar had an outdoor cellar door, which today you wouldn't see them anywhere, but
You mean a storm cellar that's slanted? That
Right.
goes down to the ground?
right. And I think that was the only access to it. I
Mhm.
don't remember an access from inside the house.
Oh.
And there was always a rain barrel beside it, catching rainwater.
Was there a well? You said there was a pump
Yeah.
house. Was there a well?
There had to be a well there,
Yeah.
because
Wow.
that's the only place there was a pump.
And she had 5 brothers? There were a bunch of
Well,
brothers.
She had like 8 brothers.
There were 8 brothers living in that house,
Mhm.
and none of them ever married.
Well, she had a couple Stepbrothers. And they were married. I don't remember them living there.
Okay, but the unmarried
boys,
ones.
Yeah.
5 or 6 of them, something like that.
Like 6 or maybe 6 of them.
Wow.
No, they didn't marry.
So statistically, how unlikely is it that all 6 of them would not get married? Was that unusual or was that usual?
No, it was not unusual because they never left the farm. They would have no way of meeting anyone. I know they went to school. They must have gone to school when they were little, to a country school, because they all knew how to read, but not very well.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember they read comic books. That I remember.
Wow.
Yeah, but Martin then, Uncle Martin, I don't know if you remember.
I remember Uncle Marty. Marty, right? Or
No, it was Martin.
Martin.
And Maida, his wife. He met her when she came to work on the farm to help my mother, like scrub the floors
Mm-hmm.
and do that kind of thing. She met Martin, and so eventually they married. But the others did not.
Wow.
Later on in life, one of them married, Melvin.
And Honey, your mom grew up on that farm?
Yes.
How did Honey meet her husband, Lloyd?
I think she met him in Maple Park at the school she went to.
Ah, okay. How old was she? Teenager?
I'm guessing high school. Well, yeah, high school.
Teenager. Wow. And so that's how she got off the farm.
Right. Well, she went to a business college for a short time. She was the only one who did, and she only got to go because she was a girl.
And she had told me, gosh, years ago, or you had told me, that was a business college was more like shorthand and keeping typing and maybe keeping a ledger book. That's kind of what it was.
I don't think it was shorthand at that time. This was before the days of shorthand.
But it wasn't an MBA business school. This was
no, absolutely
This was
not.
a year of trade school.
That's right.
Yeah.
And
To
I don't
be
even
a
know
filing
if it was
clerk
a
or
full
something.
year.
Yeah.
But so she was able to be, now you call them a court recorder.
Mhm.
She did that for a while.
Court recorder
As in, she must have taken some kind of shorthand because she went to trials and took notes. Mm-hmm.
Interesting.
Yeah,
Before she was married or after she was married?
before.
Oh, wow, I didn't know that. Wow. So that's Elburn.
That's Elburn.
And you are there, and you're living there with your brothers and your mom and your dad. And Grandpa, your dad, at that time, was he still a cattle buyer? He was working in the stockyards of the cattle business at that point, right?
Yeah, I think he was working for a feed company that sold feed.
Did he travel a lot?
He all the time.
Got it.
Honeymead.
Yep.
What's the name of it?
Honeymead, okay.
Yeah, he traveled selling feed, and I can't tell you how it came about that eventually he started working in the packing plant in Elburn.
In Elburn, okay.
In Elburn, as a result of contacts with a feed company that he worked for, and worked his way up to becoming the manager.
Head honcho.
Head honcho, big man.
You had 5 brothers. You were the only girl.
Right.
So it's a family of 6. Was that unusual for that time in that part of the country?
No.
For big families?
Big families that was the norm. And I really think the reason they had big families, like Mother's, that family, they needed them to work the farm. It was a big farm, So it's just the way it was.
Yeah. So the school you went to was public school.
Right.
And then you come home. You didn't work after school, but you came home. Maybe you'd go work at the farm in the summer.
Always. That's what we did. until she died, until Grandma died.
How old were you when she died?
Probably, I'd say around 7.